All right. Hi, and welcome to another expert interview on the Savvy Biz blog. Today I have Danielle Yordi from yordico.com with me. Before we begin, let me say a few words about Daniel. Daniel is the owner and founder of Yordico, and you're going to have to correct me, Daniel, if I'm saying this correctly, where he helps purpose-driven leaders to turn their passion, strengths, and experience into a thriving career. Over the past 1.5 years, he has built the LinkedIn group Career Networking Switzerland to almost 6,000 members and has generated most of his business through LinkedIn. So welcome, Daniel, and thank you for your willingness to answer a few questions about LinkedIn etiquette and follow-up.
Thanks, Sarah, for having me here.
Yeah, it's great to have you, fellow Swiss. You know, it's not very often that I have another Swiss on my interviews, so it's good to have you. Thanks for taking the time. So let's get started with some of the questions that I had prepared for you. And the first one would be, would you say that LinkedIn generates a fair amount of business for you? And I think I already said that in the intro, but maybe you can just confirm that. And then why do you think that is?
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of last year, I did an analysis of where my clients come from, and what I've seen is that about 80% of my clients actually come through my LinkedIn group. So at some point, they get to know me through my LinkedIn group, the Career Network Switzerland, where they find me, where they read my articles. So they come from the LinkedIn group to my articles, and then they start connecting with me, start reading what I have to say, start reading my inputs and tips and advice. And that's where about 80% of my clients come from. So, and why that is, I think, is because most of my potential clients, they hang out on LinkedIn. They're usually executives, professionals, English-speaking executive and professionals in Switzerland who are not fully satisfied with their career, who need to change something, who are in transition. So most of them are somewhere on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, there's different approaches, but I decided to use the more passive approach to build the group, to build the community, and serve that community in there with my knowledge and my inputs, and not only to actively reach out to people and say, hey, we want to hire me or something like that, because I believe that in order to build a successful business or build a successful career, you need to build relationships on the long term and not just initially to sell them something, either if it's yourself or your services or whatever. But I believe that you need to build the relationships on the long term and also long before you actually need them.
Okay, so basically what you're building is you're sharing value via your groups on LinkedIn. And then when these people are ready to hire you, they contact you.
Exactly, yes. That's most of the time the way I do it. I put myself out there. I put a lot of knowledge. Basically, everything that you can find about me or that I know is out there for free. So you can find that. You don't need to come to me as a potential client or as a client if you just want my knowledge, because you can find everything out there for free. So people really come to me for my personality, for my personal guidance, and for coaching, and not for the inputs and advice, or not only for that. And another thing that I do, or that I've done to get people into the group, because that's many times I get the question, so how do you build a group of 6,000 people, especially in such a tiny country like Switzerland? And what I've done is especially in the beginning, most of my articles, I had a link or two that said join the Career Network Switzerland. And then these articles I shared in other LinkedIn groups that were really very relevant to what I'm doing and to the community. So people were joining the group from other groups and from other areas in LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think that brings me to the next question, which is all very much related to LinkedIn etiquette, because like what you're just demonstrating is you're not just saying please join this group. You're sharing interesting content, and then at the bottom of the post it has maybe a paragraph that says, by the way, I'm running this group, why don't you join us? But first you give them something rather than just say, hey, buy my services, or hey, join my group. So what other LinkedIn etiquette tips can you share with us?
Well, in general, maybe to mention three one of them, or maybe three mistakes that most people make is first of all, most people just talk about themselves. When they send people a message or a connection request or something like that, they only talk about themselves and they say, no, this is me, this is what I have to offer. But the thing is, nobody cares. Nobody cares in the first message what, about you, because the first question people always ask when they receive a message is, what's in it for me? So in order to make that effective, when you send out the message, when you send a connection request or anything, any kind of communication, that's not just on LinkedIn, that's in general, but that's a big part of what I see people doing wrong on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that when you send out that first message, that it's about the other person. And two of the best things that I found to do or to talk about the other person, even if you don't know them, you can say thank you for something they've done. If you read their articles, if you have attended their programs or seminars, or if you watched a speech that they did, you can say thank you for doing that, or you can say congratulations for something they achieved. One of my clients applied this strategy and basically went out there and sent people a message, usually something about their career, said, congratulations to achieving what you've achieved in your career, and I'd love to learn more about your path and why you've decided to go on that path. And people were very responsive because it was not about her, but it was about them. She only talked about them, and people came back and they sent her messages saying, let's go for coffee, let's have a chat, I'd love, if there's something I can do for you, let me know. But it was only because she only talked about the other person. So that's the first thing. The second is, people have a very short-term mindset most of the time. They are in a situation, something happens, there's an issue, maybe they're transitioning in their career, they want to get out of the corporate world and start a business or something like that, and they have a short-term mindset because they only see, okay, this person can do this for me right now. So they concentrate on that instead of saying, I'm building these connections on the long term. What usually happens then is people are not very receptive. People don't like to be used, not at all. I mean, you've probably experienced that, I've experienced that, and we don't like that. People don't like to be used. People love to help out, but only if there's a relationship built first. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, most messages that I get are very impersonal. I'll give you an example. Sometimes I receive messages from people saying, "Can you please fill in this report or this survey? It only takes 20 minutes." And when I see that, I go like, "Oh my God, no! I'm not going to spend 20 minutes on a survey sent to me by a person I don't know. Why should I do that? It's completely impersonal." So most of the time I just say no, or I send back a message saying, I don't think this is relevant, because most of the time it isn't. So it's very impersonal. And there was a person who sent me a message and she said, here's the survey. I'd love if you could fill it out because I think you're the right person for that. Because of this and this and this. Because that's our cause. That's what we want to achieve. That's why we do it. And that's how it relates to what you're doing. And she said, it only takes 20 minutes. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. Because she was making the message very personal. She was talking about what I care about. And you can use that in any kinds of messages.
And I think it really applies to the LinkedIn messages, and I'm sure that's also what you meant, is these impersonal invitations that we keep getting. I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network.
Yes,
well, no, take the 2 minutes and personalize that message.
Exactly.
Or I think another one that you've probably also already received once or twice is the recommendation request.
Yes.
From someone you have no idea who they are. They've added you on LinkedIn a year or two ago, and all of a sudden you get this recommendation request, and you're like, "What?"
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of people also get in contact with me and say, "Can you please introduce me to that person?" And I have no idea who that person is who contacts me. So most of the time I just say no, because how should I make an introduction if I don't know you? But then sometimes somebody, I have very few examples. I can actually count them on one hand. But these people, they They come to me, they send me an article, send me a video, something inspiring. They provide value, keep providing value over weeks or months. And then eventually they say, well, can you introduce me to that person? And I say, yes, of course I can, because I know you now. I know who you are.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of things for me. I want to do something for you now. And
Exactly.
more times than not, I also, when I hear about something, when I have somebody new in my network that could fit that person, then I just introduce this to each other. But I would never do that to somebody I don't know, because I couldn't. I don't know that person.
So basically, to summarize, again, the mistakes people make is that they're not building long-term relationships on LinkedIn. They're just trying to add numbers to their network. And they're also, what you said, is they're in this short mindset where they think, oh, but I don't need this person right now, so why would I accept, or why would I try to build a relationship with them? You don't know, even if you're in this great career position right now, you don't know what happens tomorrow. Especially as an entrepreneur, any connection can be of value to you at some point. So I think that's really the message here is, invest in those relationships, because eventually, they're useful to you. So I think that definitely applies for entrepreneurs, but I know that you also work with people who are in career transition. So that's what you do for a living. So how, do the same rules apply for people in that transition phase? And what kind of additional advice do you have for them? So people who are searching for a job.
Yeah, okay, so that's a good point. I mean, most of my clients that I work with, they don't want to walk the traditional path. So they're not looking, I don't work with people who are just looking for another job. I work with people who usually want to break out of the corporate world, want to do something different, either start their own business, work with a startup, become a partner somewhere, do something that's really meaningful to them and has an impact. And for those people, most of the time, the long-term mindset is there. Mm-hmm. However, with a lot of people that I talk to, there's still this short-term mindset. So all of this completely applies to entrepreneurs as well as employees, no matter what, because the first thing I always tell my clients is, no matter if you're an employee or an entrepreneur, you need to see yourself as a business owner, because mm-hmm. you own your career. Mm-hmm. And if you see it like that, if you see yourself like you are the product, you're the business, you are your career, then you want to look at it on the long run, long term. It's not just about the next gig. It's not just about the next job. It's about your entire career. It's about the next 40 years of your life, or the next 20 or 30 years of your life. And you want to make sure that you don't need to repeat the cycle over and over and over and over again. Why would you today build short-term relationships just to build short-term relationships again in a year or two when you change something again? Maybe when you want to change jobs and finally want to start your business. You do not want to do that. You want to build the long-term relationships from the beginning. And long-term relationships are all about giving, all about providing value and building trust with people, and not trying to use them the first time you meet them. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but at the essence, I think there's no difference. Also because most of the time I work with people who are sort of at the intersection. They're usually a mix. I mean, my clients are a mix between entrepreneurs and executives and professionals who are employed. So usually there's no big difference. So it's the same.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's true. And I work with clients who just need to find the next job as part of my audience. That's what they want, is like they're in transition and they want the next job. And just like you said, they've been 10 years at the same corporate, and they haven't started building 10 years ago their relationships. So they come out of this corporate job, and they have like 26 connections on LinkedIn, and they come to me and say, what can I do with LinkedIn? I'm like, oh my God, you should have started 10 years ago. Now you would have, I'm sure they know a lot of people. It's just that they haven't spent that time building those relationships on LinkedIn. So it is a shame. It is really a shame, because and what you say is completely true. I think it's the same whether it's for employees or entrepreneurs. It is a long-term relationships who eventually give you back if you give and build something with them. Very
Absolutely.
true.
And I can tell you countless stories of my life and my clients' life where where giving first has paid out, big times. And I've seen it in my business. I see it every time I connect with somebody, or basically when I need something from somebody, because I've built relationships first, and built relationships without wanting something. Most people would do anything for me. At the same time, I see that with my clients. When you build relationships first and give and give and give before you ever ask for something, people are more than happy always to give you what you want, but only if that relationship of trust is built.
Yeah, very nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this information. You're definitely walking the talk because you're giving, and I think you're not asking for anything back here. We're just sharing information and talking about giving. I just want to mention also why I'm very happy to have you, especially on this call today, because we're starting to launch the third edition of the LinkedIn Challenge, a 21-day challenge where people can sign up and get free tips for 21 days on how to improve their knowledge of LinkedIn. And I have 9 other LinkedIn experts from all over the world who participate and share their best LinkedIn tip. And really, that's what we're doing. We're just giving. It's free, and you can sign up and get the tips, and hopefully spend 10 minutes every day on LinkedIn and see what you can achieve in these 3 weeks. Build your network and build relationships. And so we really hope to see you on the LinkedIn Challenge. The site to sign up is thelinkedinchallenge.com, and we'll also put the link underneath this video or audio. So thank you so much once again, Daniel. It was a pleasure having you on this call today.
Thanks, Sarah. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.